transition a little bit back to the adult kind of program side. One question that I've had all the time, and I think you'll be a valuable person to weigh in on this, is the fitness and general strength and conditioning side for grappling arts. And you're in a unique position where you're a very accomplished weightlifter and also have a lot of grappling experience under your belt. And I get asked all the time, like, should I be doing weightlifting? Or a lot of people call this Olympic lifting. Should I be doing that for my jiu-jitsu or for my judo? Should I be doing other things? And I'd like to get your opinion on, if somebody takes their judo or their jiu-jitsu pretty seriously, what should strength and conditioning kind of look like for them, and how much, if any, weightlifting do you see involved in that?
Should you do weightlifting? No. If you are already a weightlifter, or you have weightlifting skills and you're not going through the, your learning curve isn't so steep around learning weightlifting techniques, I don't think that there's anything wrong with using weightlifting to supplement your strength and conditioning for judo or jiu-jitsu. But if you haven't really done weightlifting, or it's not been a primary part of your fitness, in my mind, there is no reason to incorporate that into your training process.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that you can't, but I guess I would look at it as, when you have a finite amount of time to do the things that you want to do, and you're spending time learning how to be a weightlifter so that you can get, better conditioning and strength to do jiu-jitsu or judo, that is time that you could probably be doing judo or jiu-jitsu. And you could accomplish, the things that weightlifting offers through other things that you may already know how to do. Some less dynamic or technical movements that many gyms like yours and mine offer. And so, I would say no, if you don't need to do weightlifting and you don't have to incorporate that. If you were going to incorporate some of it, maybe power cleans would be one of the things that I would say, you could probably incorporate that. Again, if you already kind of know how to do power cleans, you're well versed in it or something, that's a great movement to develop power and strength. But it's not the only movement that develops power and strength. I continued and still continue to weightlift as a supplement to judo and jiu-jitsu, but most of my time isn't around all of the technical pieces of weightlifting and things like that. Probably, I think to answer the other part of it, I think what you should do probably depends on a few things, like where you are in your judo or jiu-jitsu journey. Did you just start? Have you been doing it for 30 years? Are you in your mid-40s like me, or are you 18 years old? And then probably more than anything else is how much time do you have, right? Can you train 2 hours a day jiu-jitsu and 2 hours a day in the gym as well? That's probably going to be a little bit different than the person that's I got 2 hours a week to do judo, and then I have 3 hours a week to do some other training. And in a perfect world, we'd all have personal trainers, and we'd have our own special program that we go through, and our personal trainer would, create a program that is specifically geared towards our needs, and, and what we need. But most people don't have the ability to do that. They don't have either the money or the time to do that. And I think some functional fitness type training is probably the answer for most people. Most gyms like mine and yours, have some functional fitness that they're doing that is sort of kept within a finite amount of time. So you're not going into the gym and wandering around for 2 hours trying to guess what you're doing. You can come in and focus on kettlebell work or metabolic conditioning or some other thing that helps supplement your judo and jiu-jitsu. But probably for most people, the outside of the just strength piece of it, and I guess strength and conditioning, focusing most of your time on judo and jiu-jitsu in some way that is not just randori all the time, is probably going to take you pretty far, pretty far on your journey, and be helpful for you to not only make progress there, but to continue to be able to show up every day. That supplemented with some sort of strength and conditioning work.
Yeah.
Like I talked about.
I've always had a similar philosophy, especially for somebody that's not in that, invincible, 19-year-old category, whatever. If you're an adult, you're basically, let's call it age 25 and above, because before that you can get away with almost anything you want. Yeah. So if you're 25 and above, one of the big considerations is the skill and technique development of grappling is an immense task. It's also an immense task for learning weightlifting, and trying to learn two different sports that have such an immense technical component, trying to learn them at the same time it never seems to be successful. Right? Yeah. Again, especially if you're above age 25 or so. So I think if you're pretty serious about your grappling, your judo, your jiu-jitsu, trying to do things in the strength and conditioning side that are just more simple movements where you can build strength and stamina, flexibility, whatever you're trying to do, without the huge technical hurdles to overcome. I've seen that be successful over and over again. Sounds like you have kind of a similar take on it.
Yeah, and that's a great point, that, weightlifting is so mentally taxing that you have to be on when you show up to train. If you're training, at a, high percentage of your, maximal loads, you just have to be mentally on. And most weightlifting workouts are almost the same thing every day. Mm-hmm. Some clean and jerk, some snatch, some heavy movement, back squat, front squat, deadlift, something like that, some pull, and then maybe some accessory work. And you're just doing that, whatever it is, 3 to 6 times a week. And it's, even though you're doing the same thing, the mental focus has to be on there to perform and do just a training session. And I absolutely what you said. You come into judo and jiu-jitsu, which are also mentally taxing in some way, just trying to do the moves, remember what you were taught, go through, think about all of those things, and you trying to balance both things is really tough.
One last thing I'll throw out there on that same topic before we move to probably our final question is, we have both had injuries, and if you train your judo, your jiu-jitsu seriously, as much as it sucks, some injuries are probably going to happen along the way. You mentioned your rotator cuff earlier. I'm on the tail end of trying to get over a torn ligament in my knee right now. And weightlifting is incredibly hard to continue to train when you have injuries, because there's not a lot of options, right? It's the same few movements, exactly like you just said, and they're all total body movements. And so an injury anywhere can throw you off your training horribly. And so, if you're trying to do both at the same time, it's going to be hard, because you might get a little injury on the mats, and it's horribly difficult to work around if you're trying to do weightlifting, or again, Olympic lifting, a lot of people call it, versus other more broad strength and conditioning. You'll have a lot more ability to find things you can still do that aren't irritated by the injury or whatever.
Absolutely.
So, So